WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. You ever wonder, like, if you die and you're standing before God and you're waiting your turn for God to review your life, and you think, oh my gosh, all those bad things I've done, oh, you're remembering this one and that one, oh my gosh, whatever it is that comes to mind, and then you think, well, wait a minute, I did some good stuff too. I did this and that and the other thing. So, okay, I'll be okay. So you get to God, and he brings up the bad things, and so you decide to bring up your little defense that you've quickly prepared. And God says to you, you could have done more. Oh, man, then what do? It's too late. It's over, right? Mm-hmm. We went to an event. When was Ocala's Got Talent? Earlier this year, right?
Yes.
Seems like 100 years ago.
Yep.
And it was up at the Heart of Florida Youth Ranch. And when we were there, we met some amazing people. The talented people who participated in Ocala's Got Talent, aside from them, we met people who run this organization that helps youth in need, youth in trouble, youth needing direction. And when you meet anybody that needs direction, especially a young person, the best thing you can have is a great leader. And I met more than one great leader at the Heart of Florida Youth Ranch, and one of them is in the studio today, Dr. John Sweet. And I didn't know he wrote a book, but he did. It's called Being Right the Right Way. And the very beginning of the book talks about being at your own funeral. So, Dr. John Sweet, good morning, sir. How are you?
Just fine.
Good to see you again.
It's good to be here again.
How is the Heart of Florida Youth Ranch? How's it going?
We are very, very busy. We're at capacity and looking forward to a great holiday season, working real hard to make sure that our kids have a great holiday.
I know we want to talk about the book, Being Right the Right Way. Are you a pastor?
I was a pastor for 20 years, yes.
Okay, I just wasn't sure about that.
Yes.
And how long have you been with the Heart of Florida Youth Ranch?
I've been there since 2014, wow. June of 2014. Wow.
And just for those who don't know what it is, explain what the mission is of the Heart of Florida Youth Ranch.
Well, we're a residential program for at-risk youth. Age ranges from about 6 or 7 all the way up to 17. We have our bed capacity is 34, and we're at capacity. And basically, we are the family to these children, and we provide them a place to be in terms of a home setting. We do everything in a cottage setting. There's cottage parents that are there to work with them, and everything that provide just as normal as possible an environment for them.
The one thing that I think we picked up on, I think one of the contestants was one of your students. Do you call them students, the residents who live?
Yes.
Students?
Yes.
A young girl, and she was one of the singers, and we got to talk to her a little bit because we did a little interview with the video camera, and it seems like I'm surprised, like she's there. It's like, oh gosh, what happened? You don't know the backstory ever, and so whatever you guys know about their backstory must definitely play a role in how you approach whatever program you're going to put them through. And your leadership skills, just a little bit I read of the book so far, that's what sets you apart from me, because I don't know that I could do your job.
Well, there's no doubt that working with children who have been traumatized by abandonment, neglect, abuse, or loss of parents some other way, it definitely is a skill set. It's not something that you're just naturally going to have. And I think that's one of probably the big challenges. Most people think that, well, I'll just love them, or I'll just do this or that, but it's actually a skill set.
Is there something playing? Do you hear another voice?
Yes.
Is that your phone?
Yeah.
Oh, your phone's talking to you? Oh, okay, sorry. I didn't know where it was coming from. I was looking at my board here, wondering where it was coming from. All right, so I want to tell you something. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago, we had a discussion with a person who described himself as a former pastor. He now describes himself as a humanist. I don't know if atheist was how he describes himself, but that's what I took it as.
Yes.
And he was trying to make the point that you don't need to believe in a God in order for you to know right from wrong. You don't need to believe in a God in order to do the right thing. And he fell out of favor with God. I don't know the whole story there. But in my mind, knowing, at least believing there's a God, if I said I know it, there's that one verse, commandment that says, "Thou shalt not bear false witness." Mm-hmm. So if I tell you I know there's a God, I'm lying because I don't know, but I just believe it. I mean, to me, everything indicates that there is. So that's the position I come from. With that belief comes hope. Hope in so many different things. Hope for the world. Hope for myself as an individual, not only in this lifetime, but perhaps after this lifetime. And of course, that comes from, going to church and things like that. But you put that into your work. I mean, that's part of what you do. It's an integral part of what you do, isn't it?
Exactly. And just the belief in hope and the belief in God brings up some very critical questions. I tell people oftentimes we get asked the hard questions. Why? If God is love and God is real and God's over all of this, why did all of these negative, horrible, traumatic things happen to me?
How do you answer that?
And that's one of the challenges that you face every day with kids. It's at least once a month we'll get that question posed to us, and my answer usually begins with God was at the same place that He was when Jesus Christ was hanging on the cross and dying, but the reality was that God knew that the end, the cross was not the end for Christ. He knew that there was more, that there was a purpose and a plan beyond that horrible moment of the cross. And the same way, God knew that you were going to survive. God knew that you would be here with us. God knew that you would find your way here as a survivor, and that would not be the end of your life. It would not be, your life is going to have purpose and destiny beyond this moment, beyond the tragedy of the things that have happened to you in the past. And therefore, there is hope. And, what is behind you is the worst part of your life. There's a great future ahead of you.
None of us are spared trials and tribulations. The wealthiest among us have problems. They have people in their family with cancer. They have problems that maybe aren't money problems. I've always said, hey, if I'm going to have any cross to bear, money's a good one because health is more important than money. I'm sure you know this story about the guy who goes to Jesus and asks if he can have a new cross because his is too heavy, and Jesus says, "Sure, go in." And he goes into this room full of crosses and he looks around and he finds one he likes, and he comes out and Jesus says, "I thought you wanted a new cross. That's the one you went in with." Because our own burdens sometimes aren't as bad as other people's.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So do you think sometimes that the kids who are there are just learning, and does the book address not just the kids but all of us, are we learning that hard times, as hard as they are a blessing in disguise?
Well, it's really hard when you're in the midst of that to see that at the moment. I think there are people that come out of that and they look back and they see the value in going through the difficult times, and they'll come out and say, well, had it not been for this, what happened shaped me into the kind of person that I am today. And so, but it's hard to see that when you're in the middle of the trial or the difficulty or the trauma at that very moment.
Do you ever use your own life? Is there something a pivotal time in your own life that really put you on the path that you're on now?
Well, there was a particular several instances that happened with me. One was I was just a local church pastor, and during I was on what's called a foster care review board in Blount County, Tennessee, and we would review cases of the children that were in our community. And one of those was a young man, and the young man came in and he had a question for our little board, our panel, and his question was, why was I in jail? And the young man had basically, according to his file, had just been abandoned by his mother, who had left with a paramour and left him alone at 15 years old. Neighbors saw that he was alone, called the authorities, and he was picked up. And so he had done nothing wrong. But the reality was he was in jail. They didn't have a foster care bed. They didn't have a residential bed. And so they had him in what was called the holding center. And the holding center was the juvenile detention facility. And when that young man shared his story, it had a life-changing effect for me. I
remember you telling that story in a previous visit with you. All right, I think you heard the music. We have a break we have to take. It always goes too quick when the interviews are good. Dr. John Sweet is in the studio. He is the executive director of the Heart of Florida Youth Ranch and a pastor, and he's written the book called Being Right the Right Way. So we will be fair to the book on the other side of the break and talk more about the book. Let me do this and we'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accidents. On this Wednesday, times of sun and clouds and quite warm, high 82 to 86. Partly cloudy and mild Wednesday night, low 63 to 67. For Thursday, more clouds and sun, temperatures ranging from the mid-70s in the northern part of the zone to the mid-80s in the south. And for Friday, clouds and sun and not as warm, high 69 to 74. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Hi, my name is Erica Olstein. I'm a doctor of acupuncture and oriental medicine. So, you used to be wired, now you're just tired. You used to be thin, but now you're the heaviest you've ever been. You don't necessarily always have to take a med if your thyroid is playing dead. If you have a thyroid disorder, an acupuncture visit may be in order. Come visit me, your primary care physician, Erica Olstein, at A Better You Healthcare. Call me at 352-615-5566.
Experience Christmas at Gaylord Palms, presented by Fujifilm Instax, November 18th through January 1st. Enjoy spectacular holiday decor, dining, and entertainment, including ice, with an all-new theme featuring a Charlie Brown Christmas, Cirque Dreams Unwrapped stage show, breakfast with Charlie Brown and friends, Alpine Rush snow tubing, and much more. It's everything Christmas in one extraordinary place. Tickets and overnight packages, including priority extra cool hour admission to ice, are on sale now at Christmas@GaylordPalms.com.
Christmas time is here, and this holiday season, Gaylord Palms puts a brand new twist on a Christmas classic. It's Ice, presented by Pepsi, featuring a Charlie Brown Christmas by Charles Schulz, November 18th through January 1st. See the whole Peanuts gang carved in over 2 million pounds of colorful ice, including Snoopy's decorated doghouse, and dancing at the holiday play rehearsal. Your awe-inspiring experience concludes with the wonder of the nativity in ice. For tickets and packages, visit Christmas@GaylordPalms.com.
'Tis the season to be giving.
And at WOCA The Source, we have teamed up with Florida Kids Helping Kids
To make sure homeless children in Marion County have a great Christmas.
and you can help.
Yes, WOCA at the Paddock Mall is a drop-off site. Bring new or gently used dolls, skateboards, jewelry sets,
Footballs, basketballs, musical instruments.
and anything else a child would like.
Share your blessing.
Children will be able to choose a gift for another child.
And Florida Kids Helping Kids will wrap the gift.
Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays from all of us here at WOCA The Source.
When you go into Automax, Marion County's #1 pre-owned dealer for over 15 years, you won't take the new car depreciation because Automax saves you thousands on late model vehicles. Browse the inventory online at automaxocala.com. Then come down to see the great vehicles and upfront pricing in person. Compare up to 60 models inside the climate control showroom. So take your time. No high pressure, no gimmicks, no games. On the corner of 17th and Easy Street. Automax. Quality cars, outlet prices.
All right, 19 minutes after 9 o'clock, Dr. John Sweet is in the studio. If you know the name, the Heart of Florida Youth Ranch, I hope that is because you listen to WOCA, and we helped spread the word about that unbelievably great organization, not too far from here, what, 10 minutes maybe north of here?
Yeah, about 10 or 15 minutes, right?
And so Dr. Sweet has a book. It's called Being Right the Right Way. Let's talk about this. You have the quadrant explanation in the book.
Right.
So you can be the wrong. You can be right the wrong way.
Right. Well, basically, I had a staff at another agency that I was working with, had a large staff, large agency, and had about 20 supervisors that I worked with every month, and I had one particular gentleman that was a supervisor there who he was a very bright guy. He's become very successful, but at that particular moment in time, he was having a lot of difficulty with as a supervisor because the people that he was trying to supervise didn't like him. They didn't like his approach. They didn't like his attitude. So I brought him in to talk to him, and I'll never forget the moment. He was so passionate about it. He looked at me, and I was trying to explain that his approach may not have been the best, and he looked at me, and he was so passionate. He said, "But I was right. Why don't they just get it?" And when he said that, I said, "Well, my friend, you have a gift for being right the wrong way." And as soon as I said that, I wrote it down. I knew there was more to that.
Yeah.
And so I began to flesh that out in terms of you can be right the wrong way, you can be right the right way. You can make a good decision, but if you present that decision in a way that doesn't understand the emotional place of the other person or the developmental place of the other person, then you can present that in such a way they can't receive it and they can't hear it. And the Bible actually talks about that there are people that there's times and places where people are able to receive things better than others, and that they'll hate that.
Okay, can I put you on the spot a little bit? I'm going to give you a story. I'm making it up on the spot, so it's not a real story. Okay, so you're a father, and your child comes home with a note from the teacher, and the note says that your son punched another kid in the nose. Okay, I'm trying to make something real simple, I guess. Tell me how to treat that, how to be right the wrong way on that one, and then right the right way.
Well, right the wrong way, you might say, "Hey, that's absolutely wrong," and go into some kind of tirade, screaming, yelling, being absolutely the very thing you detest, you become. And the presentation in such a way that it demeans and puts your son in such a place that they can't receive that, and they reject that and become very defensive about that.
Okay, so that's right. You're right, because you're obviously you're making a good point, but it's the wrong way.
The wrong attitude, right.
Okay, so what would you do differently to make it the right way?
Well, I think then you understand where your son is. And a lot of what ifs go into that, and it depends kind of things go into that, because if your son comes to you and he is remorseful and he presents some kind of reasonable explanation as to maybe he was defending somebody else, or maybe he just got angry, but there's a way that you can go into that and approach it in such a way that it gives them a chance to be valid in their feelings and in their actions, even though they were wrong, and then help them discover another way of handling that situation that might have been much, much more appropriate and would not have had the consequences that getting in a fight at school is going to have.
What would your reaction be if the father told you the story and he said, "Well, you know what I said to him? I said, good, the kid probably deserved it," and then just went on with whatever? Is that being wrong the wrong way?
It might be being wrong the right way.
Okay.
Because you're wanting to preserve your relationship with your son. You're wanting to help lift them up, and you're sensitive to how they're feeling. But actually promoting them going and having fights at school is probably not going to be the best solution.
Yeah, and I think that happens a lot, though, don't you, in society?
And you talk about decisions and attitudes, and that really plays an important role about something that you decide to do, what end of the emotional spectrum you're on.
Right, and it comes down to on the very back cover, it says, people leave churches when the pastor handles a decision the wrong way. Parents and teenage children become estranged. Employees leave businesses over wrong attitudes and poorly timed decisions. And I think that's what makes this kind of thing important, is because it affects your relationships. And so one of the questions you have to ask yourself when you're making a decision or presentation is, how important is my relationship? Because if you have a wrong attitude and you weaken or damage your relationships, then you lose the ability to speak into that person's life in the future.
Even though at the Heart of Florida Youth Ranch you work with youth, I'm guessing that this message is embraced by people who are 40-something years old, and the issue is with their spouse, or 80-something-year-old, and their issue is with maybe their caregiver. I mean, I'm guessing this is a whole life lesson right here.
Well,
and one that we learn over and over again, probably.
Exactly. One of our challenges is we look at our life and how many families will be estranged this Christmas season or this holiday season because of poorly timed decisions, wrong attitudes, thoughts and things that were shared at a moment of heated emotions, and it severed family relationships. It severed, how many people you talk to somebody that hasn't been in church in a while, and you ask them, well, why were you not in church? Well, it'll go back to a children's worker, a youth pastor, a pastor, somebody in the church that probably made a bad decision or even made a right decision, but they handled it so poorly that it became a crisis. And talking about our kind of work is you can be right about the dress code. You can be right about the need to get the homework done. You can be right about the need to get the chore done and to do the appropriate expectations. But if you present that so poorly that the other person can't receive it, then you will turn the right thing into a crisis.
It almost sounds like a salesperson's training. It's the same kind of thing a salesperson learns when trying to persuade somebody to buy a product. Assume, we get with the benefit of the doubt is that the product is something you believe in. I mean, that's what it sounds like, the same kind of a thing. You don't want to leave a bad taste in somebody's mouth.
Well, and a lot of things are about reading the other person. From, our very first moments after birth, babies start trying to read the faces. If you smile at a baby, chances are that baby smiles back at you.
I love that, yeah.
If you smile at somebody walking through the mall here, chances are they will smile back at you because we're wired to, they're called mirror neurons. We're wired to respond that way. And so it's learning to read, but if and I think that part of what we're understanding about being right the right way is understanding that every part of my communication is saying something. The look on my face, the tone of my voice, my posture, all of those things are saying something. And if I'm not careful, then even though I'm right, the way I present that being right can put myself in a place where they won't receive my answer or my recommendation, or put them in a place where they totally reject it and me.
How do you keep people from being taken advantage of? Because usually when people are easygoing and gentle, other people seem to use them and abuse them, not just physically but verbally.
Well, and that goes into, you can be wrong the right way, and that there are people that are just easy marks. And so this is not talking about that. This is talking about being right. And sometimes the right way is to be firm. Sometimes the right way is to, you can't avoid every conflict. Some conflicts are worth, you have to decide as a parent, as a caregiver, as a pastor, you've got to make the decision, is this hill big enough to die on? Because whenever you get into a conflict, is this battle worth having? And we talk about picking our battles.
That's interesting. A lot of what you've said, in fact, everything you've said, has to do with the power of words and the wisdom of choosing the right words. Do you, as a leader, sometimes need to use actions instead of words? That's kind of a broad question. If I could narrow it down a little bit. There was a program, ECAL-E2 or something, out in the National Forest for juvenile offenders, the juvenile delinquents that were sentenced, but, they didn't do anything that bad. So they actually go on these camping trips. So they literally have to cut trees, build their fires, and so all this physical stuff. And I'm sure there's a counselor like yourself giving them smart words too. But those physical actions sometimes increase the effectiveness of words. Maybe that's what I'm asking.
Well, I absolutely. I can't recall right off the top of my head, so I hate to say something I can't give appropriate reference for, but there was a great leader one time said that, preach all the time and sometimes use words. And I think that's what you're talking about is we're constantly, everything we say or do is communicating something and being sensitive about how and what we're communicating.
Well, the Youth Ranch is really lucky to have you, and I know I've said that before. Dr. John Sweet, how do we get the book, Being Right the Right Way?
You can go to our website, www.HOFYR, HeartofFloridaYouthRanch.org, and you can pick it up there. You can call our offices at 352-595-7100, and we'll be glad to hook you up. Go to our Facebook page. It's available on our Facebook page or Amazon Kindle.
Thank you, Doctor. Have a great Christmas. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. President-elect Donald Trump says he'll leave his businesses to focus on being president, tweeting that he'll hold a press conference December 15th with his adult children.
The announcement comes amid growing questions about potential conflicts of interest.